Imagine standing in the middle of a vast desert, the horizon shimmering with heat, when suddenly, emerging from the dunes, you see a line of camels carrying bundles of silk, spices, and treasures. This is not just a caravan, it's a moving lifeline, a bridge between worlds, a thread that stitched together civilizations. Welcome to the Silk Road. This wasn't just one road. It was a sprawling network of trade routes stretching thousands of miles across Asia, linking the great empires of China, India, Persia, Arabia, and Rome. Along this network, not only goods, but also ideas, religions, technologies, and even diseases traveled. In many ways, the Silk Road was the first internet, a system connecting cultures across continents. Today, we'll take you through the entire history of the Silk Road, from its beginnings in ancient China through the rise of powerful empires to its golden age under the Mongols and its eventual decline. So, grab your metaphorical camel and let's set out on a journey across deserts, mountains, and centuries. Our story begins in ancient China, over 2,000 years ago. During the Han Dynasty, silk wasn't just a fabric, it was a symbol of status and power. Soft, shimmering, and almost magical, silk became the luxury item everyone in the West wanted. But there was a problem. Only China knew how to make it. The secret of silk production was guarded as closely as nuclear secrets are today. To the Romans, silk seemed like fabric spun from the gods themselves. They were so obsessed that Roman senators once complained silk made their men too soft and decadent. It was this insatiable demand that sparked the creation of long-distance trade routes. Picture this. A Han Dynasty envoy, Zhang Qian, sent westward to make alliances. Instead, he discovers powerful horses in Central Asia, so strong they seemed to sweat blood. The Chinese desperately wanted these horses, and in exchange they offered silk. Thus, the first major exchanges across Central Asia were born. This was the spark that ignited the Silk Road. But the Silk Road wasn't just one path. It was more like a web, weaving through deserts, mountains, and cities. To the north, routes through the steppes and oases. To the south, paths crossing the terrifying Taklamakan Desert, known as the desert you go in, but don't come out. Caravans of merchants carried not only silk, but jade, porcelain, and paper from China. From India came spices and precious stones. From the Middle East came glass, perfumes, and carpets. And from Rome, gold, silver, and wine. Think of it as a global Amazon Prime, but with delivery times measured in months or years, and shipping handled by camels. Empires rose and fell along these roads. The Persians built way stations and guarded paths. The Romans craved luxury goods. The Kushan kingdom in today's Afghanistan became a cultural melting pot where Greek, Indian, and Chinese influences mixed. Each empire was like a bead on the necklace of the Silk Road, connected by threads of trade. But the Silk Road wasn't just about stuff. It was also about ideas. Take Buddhism, for example. Originating in India, Buddhism spread northward along caravan trails into Central Asia, then eastward into China. Imagine weary merchants stopping at a Buddhist monastery, finding food, rest, and spiritual comfort. Over time, these oases became hubs of learning and faith. Later, Islam would also travel along these routes, spreading into Central Asia and beyond, and Christianity too left its traces. Technology moved as well. Papermaking, invented in China, spread westward, eventually transforming the Islamic world and later Europe. Gunpowder followed a similar path, reshaping warfare forever. In a way, the Silk Road was humanity's first global classroom. Cultures didn't just trade objects, they exchanged worldviews. Now, let's be clear. The Silk Road was no easy highway. It was dangerous, grueling, and often deadly. Caravans faced bandits lurking in mountain passes. Deserts offered sandstorms, scorpions, and dehydration. In some stretches, bones of traders and camels littered the path, grim reminders of failure. And yet, the lure of wealth kept people coming. Why? Because profits could be astronomical. A pound of silk in Rome was worth its weight in gold. So despite the risks, caravans kept marching, mile after mile, century after century. These traders were the adventurers of their age, braving dangers most of us today would never dream of. Fast forward to the 13th century. Enter the Mongols. When Genghis Khan and his descendants built the largest land empire in history, something remarkable happened. The Silk Road entered its golden age. The Mongols, fierce warriors, were also pragmatic rulers. They established order across Eurasia, what historians call the Pax Mongolica, or Mongol peace. For the first time, a merchant could travel from China to Europe under a single political umbrella, with relative safety. This is when figures like Marco Polo appeared, bringing back tales of the riches of the East. Imagine the excitement. Spices, silk, gunpowder, and even noodles traveling westward, while silver, furs, and horses traveled east. The Silk Road truly became the superhighway of the medieval world. But not everything that traveled the Silk Road was beneficial. In the 14th century, caravans and ships carried not only goods, but also the Black Death. Bubonic plague spread from Central Asia along Silk Road routes to the Middle East and Europe, killing tens of millions. It's a chilling reminder. Connectivity brings both opportunity and risk. Just as today's internet can spread knowledge or misinformation, the Silk Road could spread both wealth and catastrophe. By the late 1400s, the Silk Road began to fade. Why? A few reasons. Political instability made overland travel dangerous again. But most importantly, new sea routes emerged. Portuguese and Spanish explorers sailing around Africa and across oceans offered faster, safer, and cheaper ways to move goods. Why risk the desert when you could load a ship? The old caravan trails slowly fell silent. Cities that once thrived on caravan trade declined. The Silk Road faded into memory, its bones buried under sand. And yet, the Silk Road never truly died. Its legacy lives on in the cultures it shaped, the ideas it spread, and even in the foods we eat. Pasta in Italy may trace its roots to Chinese noodles. Mathematics and astronomy traveled from the Islamic world into Europe, fueling the Renaissance. And today, nations are once again talking about new Silk Roads, modern highways, railways, and digital connections linking East and West. In many ways, the Silk Road reminds us of a timeless truth. Human beings are wired to connect, to exchange, to learn from one another. And yet, the Silk Road never truly died. Its legacy lives on in the cultures it shaped, the ideas it spread, and even in the foods we eat. Pasta in Italy may trace its roots to Chinese noodles. Mathematics and astronomy traveled from the Islamic world into Europe, fueling the Renaissance. And today, nations are once again talking about new Silk Roads. Modern highways, railways, and digital connections linking east and west. In many ways, the Silk Road reminds us of a timeless truth. Human beings are wired to connect, to exchange, to learn from one another. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the entire history of the Silk Road. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, safe travels, whether by camel, ship, or Wi-Fi. Nick Mason.